what we have been seeing is that artificial intelligence has been playing a key role in recent scientific and technological developments, enabling groundbreaking achievements in many areas of human knowledge. We can name some of them, like in smart manufacturing, in the area of health, in the area of weather forecasting, clean air, clean energy, and so many other areas. We have been seeing natural language processing, where we have been seeing how AI has been delivered so many groundbreaking achievements in recently. And more recently, we have seen how AI have shaken the whole world with unparalleled accomplishments, generating realistic works that could match or even surpass human performance. Some of you have been mind-boggled with what ChatGPT is doing. I'm not sure if you are familiar with other generative AI, for example, DALL-E, Make a Video, and other tools, okay? But right now, as we can see, some are very enjoying a lot what we can do with AI, but others are also, at the same point, worried about what AI could also disrupt in our daily lives. Some are just right now worried about, will I lose my job, for example? So these are very important and real concerns, but also challenges that we have when we talk about AI. So these real concerns that arise about the disruptions and threats that AI can bring are real. And we need to be able to discuss and tackle them. But also, it comes with a huge opportunity for us as church, dealing with the mission, preaching the everlasting gospel to every tongue, every people, every corner in the world, to also use this as a powerful tool for us. So the idea today is to explore the challenges, opportunities, and the potential that we have to harness AI for spreading the eternal gospel to every corner of the globe. Okay? I've been talking to some of you during these days. So, of course, I was trying not to anticipate what we are going to present, but it's very important to see that not only here, but around the world, people are talking about how AI can, in our church, how AI can be used by us to preach the word of Jesus. So let's first talk about a little bit about technical issues related to artificial intelligence. It's very important for you to bear with me, because although this could be something a little bit technical, I think it's important to understand it's not magic, as some people might think. It's not magic. It's not a charm. It's actually something built upon real scientific knowledge with mathematics and computational background, okay? But usually when we talk about artificial intelligence, we remember about these movies, right? Have you ever watched these movies, for example? Name one of them, please. I want you to please tell me. Star Wars, okay. So AI in Star Wars is competing or collaborating with people. Do you remember? More? Collaborating, right? And then we have others. For example, tell me another movie over there. Sorry? Terminator, yes, Terminator. And what about Terminator? Artificial intelligence is competing or collaborating with humankind? Competing, okay. We have Skynet. Someone is right now saying, oh, Skynet is coming. And then we have Matrix, right? I like these films. I like them because they, despite they are portraying some dystopic future, they also talk about some very interesting insights related to what AI can do and cannot do. So I'm not telling you right now here that it's a possible or impossible future. There's not a point here. Just to say that artificial intelligence is much more than this. And today, artificial intelligence is actually a branch of computer science when we try to simulate what we call as intelligent behavior through computational methods. We have a lot of definitions of artificial intelligence, but this one is the one that I most prefer. When I do my lectures in the university, when I supervise MSc, PhD students, and also postdoc research assistants, always I start by demystifying the idea of what is actually artificial intelligence. Okay, so the idea is to simulate what we call as intelligent behavior. So intelligent behavior is not the only thing that we also attribute to all of us. We can also see intelligent behavior in other creatures. For example, a bee can have intelligent behavior. And actually we are amazed at what bees can do, for example, and dogs and cats and so forth. So the idea of artificial intelligence is to simulate this so-called intelligent behavior to help us solve real-world problems, okay? So inside of the artificial intelligence area, we have this branch that is machine learning, and inside of it, we have deep learning, okay? So usually, we try to simulate this intelligent behavior by simulating structures that are present in the nature. So for example, although we don't actually know right now how the human brain actually works, in the 1950s, some researchers in the area of computer science tried to figure out how to simulate the neuron in a human brain, computationally speaking. So they came with this idea of the artificial neuron, which we call it today the perceptron. It is a mathematical entity when we simulate the idea of having stimuli, then it comes through a series of summations and products. Then we have an activation function, and we have the output of the artificial neuron, just as we have as in a natural neuron. For example, dendrites, nucleus, and the axons, and the connections between each of the neurons. So the idea is to simulate it. So when we talk about artificial neural networks, we are talking about the combination of artificial neurons, like perceptrons, and we use them to, after that, using data to train our artificial neural networks, for example. Okay, of course, for this to work, we need to use a very specific algorithm that is able to learn from data using these structures. Okay, so right now we have some very modern architectures in artificial intelligence. For example, let me see if it's going to work. Yeah, here, if you can see, recurrent neural networks, convolutional neural networks, the long short-term memory, and the idea of convolutional neural networks for computer vision in other texts, and so forth. So when we are discussing about artificial intelligence, actually those that are working with it are going into the deepest part of artificial intelligence and how to implement it, okay? So it's not magic at all. It's real science, it's mathematics, it's computer science, and statistics, and so forth, okay? It's important to mention that. And also, in generative AI, so as our colleague, our brother just already said yesterday, generative AI is this new branch of artificial intelligence inside of deep learning mostly, where we are using AI to generate fake or synthetic data as it is real data. Okay, so if you can, for example, go into your smartphones and type in your browser, this person does not exist.com, you're going to see, for example, a picture of someone. And if you look at that picture, you'll see, oh, it's a real picture, right? But this person does not exist. Go do this experiment. It's very interesting. It's using a type, very interesting type of generative AI called GAN. It is Generative Adversarial Neural Network. Emmanuel yesterday presented it to us yesterday. But right now, we have more advanced technologies, foundation models that were built upon large volumes of data sets for certain tasks. For example, we are amazed of what ChatGPT is doing, okay? But we don't have just ChatGPT. Actually, for most of you, ChatGPT came out of the blue. And it started to, well, make us really impressed with what AI can do. But for us that are working with AI, ChatGPT took much more time that we were expecting it to become available. Because companies like Google, OpenAI, Microsoft, and so forth are very worried about what this technology can do when it's available to the public. Okay, so they postpone the disclose of these tools to the main public. But we also have Bard at Google, we have DALL-E, we have Bloomberg GPT, which is focused on financial issues. It's focused on developing and providing solutions for the finance area. We have Make a Video. Do you know it? Make a Video from Meta? Make a Video is a tool, is a generative AI for making videos. We have Ava, that is for music creation. Right now we can create music with AI as well. And then we have many others that I cannot keep track of it. For example, our brother Kevin just told me yesterday about Gamma to create PowerPoint presentations using AI, generative AI, and so many others. And we have, for example, GitHub Copilot to generate code for developers, for example. Although we can do, for example, with ChatGPT for coders, it generates very base code. So Copilot from GitHub is much more better than ChatGPT, for example, for generating code. And how we create a generative AI, it's very important to understand how we create those kind of generative AIs. Usually what we need to have is a huge amount of data. We also need to have what we call as foundation model. What powers DALL-E, ChatGPT, Make a Video, Ava, Gamma, and so many Bard, and so many others, is that at the core of it we have a foundation model, which usually is a very big, very large model that learns from the data, its representations, its pairs, without having any human interacting with it to understand it, to gather the information, the patterns that are required. So it works as in a self-supervised way, we call it. Okay, so these foundation models are the ones that are actually powering what we are seeing right now in the area of artificial intelligence. So we can use them to later do specific tasks. So the foundation model itself is not so useful. But once we have a foundation model, we can fine-tune it. We can fine-tune it to a specific task. And I'm going to present you more of it in the following. So a little bit of history here. When in the 1950s, we saw the rise of artificial intelligence, we saw that simple processing based on rules and models were around. And lots of expectations were created related to what AI could do. But they fall apart because it was not so good at all at that moment, because it was really ancient times in our area of AI in computer science. Then it came data classification problems with machine learning. Then the latest 1990s with neural networks. And we had CNNs, RNNs, GANs, and so forth. Then 2017, it came up, the transformer architecture. I'll tell you just a little bit about it. In the transformer architecture, I think Colby, right? Colby told us about that attention is fundamental, right? So the paper that we saw that present the idea of a transformer architecture, the title of the paper was attention is all you need. So the idea of the transformer architecture is to enable the artificial neural networks to learn the patterns by paying attention to what is important in the data set. It's a very great breakthrough in the area of AI. So later we saw a very rapid expansion in the area of AI because of transformer. For example, right now, in May, I published a paper in a very renowned journal about using transformers, developing new transformer architecture for wind power forecasting, for example. So just to mention how this type of architecture is really shaking our world. And then we had techniques like BERT, Roberta, also BART, and others, GPT, which stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformers, that powered up what we are seeing right now in this area of generative AI. So the architecture of the transformer, I will definitely not go into the details here, just to present to you, the idea is to stack some specific layers that are common in artificial neural networks, but in specific order, to provide the way to make a transformer architecture capture relevant information from sequential data, and later in images and so forth. So the idea of the transformer model is to have this multi-head attention mechanism that enables the artificial neural network to really understand in a better way, and also in a more optimized way, how to capture relevant patterns and then use it for specific tasks. So when you use ChatGPT, you actually are using transformers, okay? And because of this very important architecture. And very recently, we have also the rise of a new technique called diffusion. And then we right now have the stable diffusion. I'm not, of course, going to the details right now, but the idea is to having real data, you apply a sequence of noise, white noise, Gaussian noise additions. And after doing that, you reconstruct the data using a special type of artificial neural network called UNet, using attention mechanism to enable you to reconstruct the data. So with this kind of technology, today, you can go to the Stable Diffusion website and ask from a text prompt to generate an image. So can you realize the power of this kind of technology for content creation? It's also backed up, powered up, transformers, multi-head attention, and in this case, the stable diffusion process. So, but how, it's very important for you to understand those who are going to work with it and are actually working right now, how we can leverage our work based on these foundation models to a specific task. So how we can do that? Because some of them are publicly available. How we can manage to use these large models, they are very large and very expensive to train. Just for you to understand, ChatGPT is powered by GPT-4. Although they did not disclose the size of the GPT-4, which is this foundation model, this large language model that powers ChatGPT, it is something we think around 300 billion parameters. If you could fit just the model into your hard disk, in your disk, you would require more than 1 terabyte of space to store this model in your disk. Imagine to load into the memory and to perform predictions, to perform what you see right now. You do some text, you put some queries, and then you have response. So it's very expensive. So how we can take advantage of such foundation models? We use a technique that we call transfer learning. So transfer learning is, we have these large foundation models, we freeze them, and then we just specialize them, changing or adding at the final parts of this model, the last layers. We just change them, and we train them with our specific data set for our specific problem. So, for example, can you imagine what we can do with what we have at our hands? If we can have access to a foundation model like the one that powers ChatGPT, but for preaching the word of Jesus. So let's go on. Let's move forward. So we have some challenges related to generative AI. Before I jump to the opportunities, I want to present some challenges. So as I'm telling you, we have, for training large language foundation models, we have to have a huge amount of data. We have to deal with data quality, privacy, legal requirements. And yesterday, our brother Ernest, I think, I'm not sure if he's here right now, told us a little bit about GDPR, LGPD in Brazil, GDPR in Europe. Some states, 10 states I think here in the US already performing some legal requirements related to data privacy and ethics and so forth. Also, we need to deal with bias and unfairness, ownership of data availability. Those are some challenges. We also have to have large computational power to train such large foundation models. And it's very difficult to have access to such kind of structure. Usually just big techs like Google, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and others have access to such a huge infrastructure for training those models, such big supercomputing facilities. Also, you have to have highly specialized personnel. And today, big tech companies are in a competition to create more advanced AI solutions to power their business. Many institutions around the world are harnessing generative AI for their all benefit and agenda. Can you understand where we are right now, at what the point we are right now? So this scenario is transforming the way companies are delivering solutions, consuming resources and employing people, generating real threats to people's lives and the environment. So it's a big issue. But it's also important to understand that many mainstream applications are being developed and deployed to the general public by generative AI. So if you want to play part of it in our mission, we need to understand that we also made available some kind of application that can be used by the general public. But how? So for specific applications, we need domain knowledge that is not usually available for everyone. So I'm going to present to you an example. For example, just these general purpose large foundation models are not suitable for very specialized domains. For example, the legal sector, economy. So you saw that Bloomberg disclosed their Bloomberg GPT for the financial sector. For the health, also healthcare industry, cutting edge science, and also theology. So if you go to ChatGPT, ask some theological questions, what would be the type of answer that is going to present to us? So for creating and deploying a domain-specific generative model, for example, for language, image, video, and audio generation, we would need domain knowledge, specialized data sets and personnel, computational resources, if we want to train, and also to do the inference, what is, to make it available for others to use. Continuous quality monitoring and fine-tuning. We also need to tackle issues related to bias and fairness. And we need to have language-specific data, depending on the type of public that we want to achieve. Just having a very good modern English and do translations for other languages would not be enough. Can you imagine why? It's not only about having it in a specific language and then translate it automatically. It would need a specific data sets for specific language to make it available to other people in the world. And also ways to allow interpretability and explainability. For example, ChatGPT is not able to provide to you the references. Why is it taking this decision? So you cannot have access to it. For example, Google right now is doing this via Bard. Bard provides you some explainable insights, some reference. And it's right now moving towards the PaLM, that is pathways to language model. But it's still not actually really available and being developed. So what we do? So look at this interaction I did with ChatGPT. What is the question here? I asked this to ChatGPT. Can you read that? According to the Bible, what is the day all Christians should keep as holy? Can you imagine the type of answer that would come out from ChatGPT? It's quite interesting to see. I cannot blame ChatGPT for it. It's not the blame of ChatGPT, right? Why not? Because the data that it was trained with is a data that is full of Babylon's culture. Okay? So you cannot expect people to go through, and even you cannot expect to go through ChatGPT to answer for the truth. Do you understand that? Technically speaking, it's not a blame for ChatGPT because it's just reading what is available around the world in the internet. Okay? But what if we would like to have such kind of tool for us to help us preach the eternal gospel and enable people to ask this question, receive the real truth? Such kind of answer would come out. If we could be able to do that, we use in our own data sets. Ellen White writings, the Bible, and many other literatures that we have at our disposal. What if we could be able to do this? So let's go. So some opportunities here. And many of you are worried what generative AI can do, including for your jobs. What I can say from my position as a professor, training people, and also doing research, performing cutting-edge solutions using AI. The future is about not, of course, some jobs will be disrupted by AI. We know that. But the future is not someone not working with AI. The idea is to have you, content creators, pastors, technicals, and many other, working with AI to power up your own work. Can you understand that? Because if you can do your work today in a good way, you can do it better if you can really harness the potentials of AI for your own work, for content creation, for generating text, for research purposes, and so many other areas. Many of you perhaps are already using it, okay? So we have here AI foundation models of global knowledge, as I told you, and also AI foundation models of enterprise knowledge. It's us in this diagram here. And other AI models and frameworks, including near AGI. Of course, I'm not talking about this right now, but we can do lots of enablements using AI, and I just mentioned some of them for you here to understand. And we, in the future, and right now, I would dare to say, in the present, we have the opportunity to have AI-enabled knowledge workers that are able to pursue and use AI to empower their own jobs, their own works. Okay, so it can help not only workers, but those that are working at decision-making levels to have better decisions, to take better decisions, because they are powered up analytics and data science tools that can provide them more and valuable information to do their job. So in terms of opportunities, we have these available technologies. And if we want to do this, what we should do? We should use public available general purpose large language models. For example, we have BERT, GPT-J, which is the open source version of GPT-3, Llama, which is provided by Meta, Alpaca from Stanford, DALL-E for image generation, stable diffusion, and many others that are public available. And using good quality data, let's say Bible texts, Ellen White writings, SDA Bible commentaries, Adventist literature, and with specialized personnel, in computational resources, what could we do? Just imagine the possibilities. What if the Seventh-day Adventist Church created its own AI solutions for research purposes? Bible studies. Can you imagine a ChatGPT, let's say, I'm not saying no names right now, but some kind of bot that is powered by our literature to answer biblical questions, and for content creation, and also for theological advice? Can you imagine what this could add to the preaching of the everlasting gospel to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people around the world? But would it even be possible? Do you think it's possible? If you think it's possible, please raise your hands. Okay. If you think it's not possible, please raise your hands. If it's not possible, please raise your hands. Okay, who don't think anything at all, please raise your hands. Great. Okay. Okay, I'm right now here because I want to tell you, I was discussing it more than 1 year ago with Pastor Adriano Luz, which is the director of TV Novo Tempo TV in Brazil, I think. And the idea back there was already to develop such kind of generative AI to support the preaching of the everlasting gospel using foundation models. So you can see, using this Bible, Ellen White writings, other theological sources, images, audio, video, and other data sets that we have at our disposal, what can we do? What is the type of generative AI that we can use and develop for preaching the everlasting gospel? And it's, from my side, from my perspective as a specialist in this area, it's quite even possible. It's really possible. It's technically possible. We have the means to make it already available. Of course, it's not magic that you do. Of course, it requires knowledge, it requires efforts. But of course, it's quite possible. So it's not only about generative AI. We can also use AI for any other areas, not only using generative AI. We can use AI for pattern recognition. We can use AI for computer vision tasks, for recommender systems, predictive healthcare for our hospitals, analytic predictions, and so many other tasks. So AI can be really harnessed for the benefit of the mission of the church. So can you imagine the applications that we can build using AI to support preaching the everlasting gospel? And just as final remarks, I would like just to share with you some writings from Sister White in this regard. In the cities of today, where there is so much to attract and please, the people can be interested by no ordinary efforts. Put forth extraordinary efforts in order to arrest the attention of the multitudes. Attention again. Make use of every means that can possibly be devised for causing the truth to stand out clearly and distinctively. Evangelism, in Evangelism chapter 14. The methods and means by which we reach certain ends are not always the same. The missionary must use reason and judgment. Change for the better must be made. Gospel works. Different methods of labor are really essential in sowing the seeds of truth and gathering in the harvest. Testimonies for the ministry in gospel works, and the last but not the least, as field after field is entered, new methods and new plans will spring from new circumstances. New thoughts will come with the new works who give themselves to the work. As they seek the Lord for help, He will communicate with them. They will receive plans devised by the Lord Himself. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 6. Thank you so much. It's really my pleasure and my honor to be here today. God bless you all.